shift our focus to sports now, because that's what everybody's talking about on social media overnight. Bafana Bafana has made it through the back door and qualified for the next round of the Africa Cup of Nations, which is taking place in Egypt at the moment. Now, the squad is set to receive bonuses to the tune of over 300,000 rand. Bafana only made it into that last 16 after a 1-0 win against Namibia. Now, should those players be getting that bonus? To help us answer that, or at least try to, I'm joined by eNCA sports producer and the man in the know when it comes to football, Sandile Mchunu. Thank you so much for joining me, Sandile. When I watched all of this unfold, mainly on Twitter, when you were out and about, everybody was saying, when they said, oh, first the question was, do they still get the bonus, which is to the tune just under 350,000 or 320,000 rand, and others then eventually saying, well, if that bonus is there, it should go to Mali, because it's only because of Mali that we've made it into the last 16. What do we know about this bonus?
Well, in terms of the bonus, Marcel, and the viewer at home, the bonus stands for now. According to different sources, in fact, Denny Jordan was quoted as saying they just need to qualify for the knockout stages, which is the round of 16. So whether there is a clause that says if they qualify via the back door or as one of the third best placed sides, they are not going to get that bonus. It remains to be seen, because right now there is a group, a WhatsApp group for journalists that is for SAFA. So we are still waiting to hear from the president himself, Dr. Denny Jordan, whether there is a change in this, whether there was a clause that was drawn up by SAFA. But even the SAFA acting CEO was also saying that, Mr. Russell Paul, the bonuses will be transferred to Bafana Bafana. They were going to get the bonuses. That's what we all know, 320,000 per match. And if you check...
Oh, 320,000 to get through to the last 16.
But per match, they were supposed to get 60,000 rands. That is normal if it's not this new rule or this new agreement, so to speak. So it's 60,000 normally per match, which is up to 180,000 if you consider that there were 3 matches in terms of the round robin, the group stages.
So is that what they get paid per match, or if they win the game?
If they win the game, it's 60,000, which amounts to 180,000, 3 matches. Let's assume they won all 3 matches. They would have got 180,000, but now you times that, they get 320,000 for progressing to the knockout stages. So if you translate that, so it's no longer 60,000 per match now, per win for progress.
It's bonus upon bonus upon bonus.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I think when you look at those bonuses, they did manage only to win 1 game, and that was by the skin of their teeth against a team like Namibia, which we all know where their ranking is. I suppose there wouldn't have been this question about this bonus if they were actually performing like a team that should be standing shoulder to shoulder with a team like Senegal or Egypt. There's a lot of questions being asked about how they have actually been performing on the field of play in Egypt.
I think so as well. I think very few questions would have been asked, in terms of them, whether they are due to receive this money, whether it is supposed to be given to them, it's warranted, yes or no. But because of their performances, so now the eyebrows have been raised, and everybody is saying on social media they should come back, not even play the round of 16. Most people were very negative ahead of last night's final rounds of matches in terms of the group stages. But then again now, flip side of the coin, Marcel, a team like Portugal, I'm making examples here, they won the European Championship via the back door again, because they qualified as one of those best teams with or third placed best teams back in 2016. I think in terms of their bonus structure, nobody said, no, you're not going to get this amount because you qualified via the back door. Yes, maybe in Portugal they were angry that the team didn't perform, they scrapped through, but they ended up being crowned champions. I'm not saying Bafana will be crowned champions.
You're also not comparing Bafana Bafana to a team like Portugal
that's
filled with superstars.
Again, another example, Sundowns 2016, they were crowned CAF Champions League winners via the back door. They were knocked out, but then there were discrepancies in terms of the team that knocked them out, fielding an ineligible player. but they ended up being crowned champions, and they got what was due to them.
I suppose all is fair in love and war and sports.
Yes, yes.
Now, perhaps this bonus could motivate them. Sandile, they're taking on a team that has, as a Liverpool fan, I would have to say, one of the best players in the world in Mo Salah, but they've got a few other very handy players that play in good leagues across the world. How much of a motivation could this big bonus be? Do Bafana Bafana stand any chance of beating Egypt on Saturday?
Well, they do stand a chance of beating Egypt, provided they change the way they play in terms of the setup, the structure, and the coach. Tactically, he got it wrong, in my opinion, the past couple of weeks in terms of his team selection, in terms of the way he laid out his team. So I also feel there are players that have not been utilized that might have helped the cause of the team. And also in terms of now, whether it's going to motivate them, I think so, because now, overall, if they win the competition, they are going to pocket close to $1 million, which is 960,000 rands. You compare that to other countries, like for instance, we got the news that it's $6,000 per win in terms of Uganda when they won those 2 matches. They beat Zimbabwe. They drew against Zimbabwe and won their first match. So they got 6,000 in terms of each match. So if $6,000, if you translate that to Bafana Bafana into South African rands, you can see that the gap is huge. So I don't know whether this is motivation enough for Bafana Bafana. Only time will tell. Because
well, many would say that performing well for your team in your national strip should be motivation enough.
Exactly. Because in other countries, the badge
is all they play for.
Is all they play for, yes. That's what is important to them. So whether they get paid big salaries, big bonuses, they care less about that. They know that in their respective clubs, that's where they get a lot of money, a lot of bonuses. So they care less whether they get that when they play for their
And it's fair to say, if we keep an eye on the Women's World Cup and how exciting that's been, we've got a national team that actually qualified for the World Cup, never mind an Africa event. So more and more questions being asked about gender parity amongst that money being paid as well. So lots of focus on that. Just quickly before I let you go, we were speaking about Stuart Baxter and what this performance says about his contract. His deliverable when he was appointed was merely to take Bafana Bafana to the Africa Cup of Nations, but nothing there about how he should be performing with this team at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations.
Yes, it was to, first and foremost, to qualify the team, because in the past couple of years, it's been very difficult for our national teams, particularly Bafana Bafana, to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations, let alone the FIFA World Cup. The last time we qualified was when we hosted the World Cup back in 2010. But that being said, I also think SAFA are also looking very closely at how the team is playing, whether we are moving forward or not. Even if the performance in terms of the result is not there, but if the team is playing well, good football, and you can see that we are moving forward, then I think SAFA would say, no, let's give him a chance. Let's give him maybe until 2022. But I doubt we'll get to 2022 with Stuart Baxter as our current coach. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it so much.
So a loss resting on their performance against Egypt on Saturday. Thank you so much. Sports producer here at eNCA, Sandile Mchunu. Thank you so much.